Hello, and welcome to the Anatomy of Knitting, episode 85. My name is Erin. I'm going to be your host. I also have a special co-host. Hi. Can you say hi?
Yeah.
Say hi. Good job. It's been a week of sickness here. Last Thursday when I recorded, I've got a phone call from the crush saying that Malcolm had a fever, and he proceeded to have a fever. Yeah, he had a fever for about 5 days, right? 5 days? Yeah. Here we go. No, you want to sit? Okay. Go play with Diesel then.
Is that?
Yeah? I don't know how well this is going to work out. We'll see. So he had a fever and then had a fever for 5 days. Total. Malcolm is doing fine. He is at the crush again. But Nathaniel decided to wait and get his illness until, I guess Monday he woke up with a fever. And so 5 days for him would be tomorrow. So I kind of expect him to be feverish until tomorrow. He actually had a... and now I obviously have it as well, but Nathaniel woke up early Tuesday morning at about 3:30 in the morning. He had a fever of 104.3, I believe is what it was. And he woke up confused. He wanted to go shopping, and so I quickly administered some Nurofen, which I guess is the closest to ibuprofen here. And then he and I watched Thomas for a little bit, and then his fever broke, and he was fine. So, yeah, it's just been a week of illness. We haven't gone to any toddler groups, right? No toddler group because you've been sick. And,
I think it.
Yeah, basically it's just keeping your fever under control is what's been the challenge this week. He woke up with a low-grade temp this morning. He feels a little bit better now. And that's just the cough he's always had. And so that's been our life the past week. It's just illness and yuck. Right? Yuck.
No.
Oh, you want to show them your troublesome trucks?
No. Please, what it?
Okay. So, that's okay. I'll get it. There's your troublesome truck. Did we drop the cargo too? Let's see. Let's see if the cargo is down here. Oh, there's the cargo.
Yeah, Dad?
There's your cargo.
I'll get it.
You want to get it? Well, we can't get it.
I want it back.
You want it back? How about we do that so you can see?
Yeah.
This is the internet, honey. We're talking to the people on the internet. Mommy's going to talk to them about knitting.
I want it.
You want it? You can't have it. It's a computer. It's okay. What are we doing?
I'm holding it.
No, you can't hold it, sweetie. Mommy's not holding it.
No, you don't want it. I want it back. You don't want
Well, why don't you sit on my lap?
You don't want it. I want it back. You don't want it.
What?
I want it back.
You want it back? I don't understand what you want. I'm gonna show the people out there on the internet my knitting stuff, okay?
No, I don't want it.
And then we can watch Thomas afterwards.
No.
No. No. Okay, so let's just do this quickly while we can. Do you want to hold my knitting for the people out there on the internet? Okay. So the first thing we have is something new that I cast on that I've mainly been working on. This is out of some Hello Yarn. This is some very vintage stash. I'm using her hand-dyed sock in the tar colorway.
Yarn.
Yeah, you want to hold the yarn?
A yarn on the yarn.
Yep, there's the yarn. There's the yarn. And it's got blacks and browns and grays. Oh, here, show them the hat. Show them the hat that I'm making.
No.
Are we all done?
I'm all done.
Okay. We'll be back. So, sadly, that didn't end up working out. Nathaniel's pretty cute, though, don't you think? So, it's a week later, and we've had quite the experience. And yeah, I think I'll just continue things on. So now I have a finished object. I have some works in progress. I have some stash enhancement, and I think that's it. So let's get restarted. So the week in review. So after last week's attempt at podcasting, Nathaniel and I watched a little TV, and then he took like a really long nap, which was kind of unusual for him. And when he woke up, his respiratory rate was elevated, and he just was not acting like himself. So you can see I've been sick too. I ended up having to take him to urgent care that night because I was really concerned about his behavior. They told me to just continue on for 12 hours, and if he wasn't better after being on the current antibiotic for a total of 48 hours, then to go to the doctor again. And when we woke up in the morning, he was febrile again. And so we went to go see the doctor, which was a nightmare because I had to take both boys. And we got the big guns antibiotic and the instructions that if he is not starting to act more himself and not getting fevers, or if he's getting fevers, then we would have to take them to the hospital. So I ended up canceling my trip to Dublin and taking care of the boys, which is really hard when you're not feeling well yourself. Thankfully, 12 hours later, Nathaniel was nearly back to himself again. That big gun antibiotic did the trick, and he has since gotten so much better. We're on his last day of antibiotics now. He got his morning dose, and then there might be barely enough for an evening dose. And so we seem to have gotten over this hump. The boys are like back to normal, and I'm still coughing. Just some lingering yuck from the illness. So just getting better, and healing has been what we've been doing this week. So you saw in that little beginning with Nathaniel that I had been working on a sock head hat out of Hello Yarn sock yarn in the tar colorway. Well, I have since finished it. I cast it off last night. This is going to be for a friend back in the States, and that's a little accurate. You can see the colors are a little more distinct here than I think in the previous shot that you saw. There's some brown, there's some black, there's some gray, and I really like the way that this yarn patterned. There's no pooling or anything. It's just nice. It's just a nice pattern. And this is the sock head hat, and I want to say it's by Jennifer McClure. Although let me check on that for you. This is a free pattern on Kelly McClure. It's Kelly McClure, not Jennifer McClure. This is a free pattern that you can get on Ravelry, and it's pretty easy, and it uses a skein of sock yarn. So that's the hat, and then I had, here we go. Here's the amount of yarn that I had left over there. So a good amount that I can use for my sock yarn blanket if I ever decide to work on that again. So I will need to send this off pretty soon in order to, because this is going back to the States, in order to avoid that, the mail situation. Because my friend is going to be giving that as a Christmas gift. So, you are cared for by a knitter when they do something like that for you, because I wouldn't do that for just anyone. Second thing on my needles is, let me get this untangled. It's the Acorn Trail sweater. You see that I blocked all the pieces and have seamed it all together. This is a design by Amy Herzog, and I'm using the custom fit recipe and a custom fit pattern. Here is the back with the lace and the cables. And I'm currently working on the button band on the left front. And so I need to work for, I think, a couple of inches here and then cast off. And then I'll just have the button band for the right side and the buttonholes done. I've also done the button band around the collar. My initial try on after I seamed everything together looked great. I'm really excited about how this one's going to turn out. Using the custom fit directions and putting in your gauge swatch and putting in your body measurements is gonna really give me I think a really flattering sweater. I'm using Blarney Woolen Mills Donegal Tweed hand knitting wool. And I purchased this at the Blarney Woolen Mills. It's in the highly descriptive shade B4644. And here's just some of the information for the yarn. It's oh my gosh, this cough, it's just this little like thin stuff that I'm just having to cough up occasionally. So I'm really pleased with how the sweater is so far. I think next week when the boys are at school, I'm going to go downtown and find some buttons for it, because I should have the button bands finished. Both button bands finished by then. So I'll just need some buttons, and then I can install them. Yeah, I think that's it. I think this is going to be a fairly short show, which is probably good because you probably don't want to hear me cough. So that's the Acorn Trail. Again, I'm using the Acorn Trail recipe and a custom fit pattern, and I'm working from both patterns at the same time in order to knit that sweater. That's it for my needles. I did end up being able to go to Dublin this weekend. I stayed home Saturday. I was supposed to go Friday night on the train, and then have Friday night, Saturday night, and then come home Sunday on the train. Excuse me. So when we found that Nathaniel was doing a lot better on Saturday evening, my husband told me that I wasn't allowed to stay at the house on Sunday, and that I had to go up to Dublin and go for the day. So I ended up doing that. It takes almost 3 hours to drive up to the location of the show, and just about 3 hours to drive back. So I spent about 6 hours in the car to go to the show. It was a pretty good show. I found that there was, so I can only compare this. I've never been to a Stitches. I've been to Sock Summit, and I've been to like fiber festivals. So I know that how to with the experience and those of like, I can only compare this one to the Knitting and Stitching show. There seemed to be at the Dublin show, there seemed to be a lot more non-craft related booths than there were at the Knitting and Stitching show in London. There were there was a leather purse. There were 2 of those stalls. There was a bunch of massage stalls. There was like these hair things that are not elasticized, but like maybe elasticized, that like they're combs and you pull them apart and then it can hold your hair up. There was a cupcake vendor. There just was a lot of non-knitting, or not knitting, but non-craft booths, which I found kind of surprising. Considering it was the Knitting and Stitching show, there was a fair amount of bead booths, which is fine because you can use booths in the knitting and stitching show. But there were some rubber stamp and paper craft booths as well, and I guess I assume that if something's called the knitting and stitching show, that there's going to be just knitting and stitching, so like embroidery, cross stitch, quilting, sewing, all those kinds of activities. So that was a little surprising. I don't think I'm going to make a special trip to go like just for the day ever again. I was a little disappointed at the selection. The selection didn't seem to be as good as the London show. But that's kind of to be expected because Ireland is a smaller country, and London's just got a lot more people to draw and from, and to. I did find a new yarn vendor that I really liked. I found a Fine Fish Yarns. This is hand-dyed yarns and accessories. And here is the information if you want to check them out on Etsy. A finefishyarns.etsy.com. She told me that her Etsy shop was closed while we were at the Knitting and Stitching Show. I haven't checked to see if it's open personally yet, but I assume that because the Knitting and Stitching Show is done, that it probably is open again. I followed kind of the same. When I go to these kinds of events, my plan is to usually make a circuit of all of these stalls first, and then go back and buy what I like, because if you're working from a budget, that's kind of the best way to do it. I usually give myself one opportunity to buy before I make that finished circuit. Like if I see something that I have to have, I won't prevent myself from buying it, but I do like to just go and kind of plan out what I'm going to buy, and then go back to the booths and buy. And I ended up seeing this yarn as I was making my first circuit, and this. Let's see if I can make this a little. That's fairly accurate right there. This is Anna's Frozen Heart, and that's the colorway name. And I ended up seeing this across so I was like in the aisle, and I was just kind of checking, because I think there were a bunch of people in the booth at that point. And I ended up seeing this laying there, and I just fell in love with it, and knew that I had to go back and find it. And I, unfortunately, that during that first circuit, I just kind of glanced and saw it and loved it. And then I didn't remind myself to write down where it was, where I could find it. This is in her shimmer sock, and you can see it's got sparklies, which I love. And Anna's Frozen Heart, hand wash, cool, lay flat to dry. So this is merino, nylon, and stellina. And I don't know what I'm going to make with this yet. The yarn itself is it's a thinner fingering weight. So, compared to the other one that I purchased. So I think, I don't know, I'm kind of tempted to do a sock head hat. Apparently that's like the pattern of the week. Excuse me. I swear this thing is kicking my butt. But the sock head, I mean, it's such a nice, that pattern is such a good base to show off a great yarn, It's just a bunch of stockinette, and then there's some ribbing. The ribbing takes some time to get through because it's 4 inches of ribbing, but it's just a nice way to show off a nicely hand painted yarn. So that's the first yarn. That's the one that made me go back and find it. I did remember like the booth, how it was set up and where I saw it. So I just did go through all the aisles again to find the booth. So if you go and you follow kind of that plan,
always have a little notebook of paper and a pen so you can write down where you need to go back to. The other yarn that I got is her Superwash Merino and Nylon in the Blue Skies and Storm Clouds colorway, which I think is really fun. It's just some grays, some blues, and then just some natural sections, which is really nice. Blue skies and storm clouds. And again, this is her Fine Fish yarns. And I believe she said she was from Belfast. She definitely was from the north. Because I asked if I could, I only had a little bit of cash on me. I hadn't quite gotten to an ATM. And I knew that, it shows like these, a lot of people have like the what is it, the Square? I think it's Square card readers that they could put on their phones or their iPads. And so I asked her, I said, can I use a card or do you take only cash? And she was only taking only cash. It was interesting. She said because she was from the north, she couldn't take cards. And I don't know. I was a little surprised that, I don't know, maybe it's some sort of banking tax thing that's above my pay grade. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's a tax issue, which I completely understand. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting experience, because I know I've gone to shows that have had like Canadian vendors, and I've been able to pay with cards. So just an interesting thing to be prepared for next time, to have some cash on hand. And yeah, I'm kind of sad I didn't get to spend more time in Dublin. I was hoping to have a sushi dinner, because we don't really have good sushi here in Cork. And that's the thing I really miss about the States, especially where I'm from in the States, the Pacific Northwest, is that there's a lot of Asian food, so you have your choice of sushi and teriyaki and all that kind of stuff. So that is the yarn stash enhancement. I bought some fabric to work on the quilt for Malcolm. I've got everything cut out. I've got one block complete, and I need to do 15 more. So I've got my work cut out for me, because my family is going to be here 3 weeks from Sunday. I think I can do it. We'll see. I do have to get my husband's quilt basted today. That's in the queue to do. Let's see. What else do I have to do? Nathaniel's quilt is all done. And I just have to work on Malcolm's quilt. So I don't really have much else to talk about, sadly. Just the illness that has racked our house. And yeah, I'm going to go squish my lovely yarns. And so I think I'll say goodbye to you now. Thank you for watching. Again, if you are going to buy a Craftsy class, I'm a Craftsy affiliate, and if you go to theanatomyofknitting.com, you can click on the banner that's going to be on that side. If you're going to go buy a class, Craftsy kind of is able to track where people come from, and if you use that link, they will give me a little bit of money for the advertising. And thanks to you all, I was able to pay for 2 months of my hosting fees from doing that. So thank you. And if you're just going to buy a Craftsy class, if that's in your plans anyway, just please do that. And it's just an easy way to support the podcast. I think that's about it. And thank you for watching. The lights today, it's just a very overcast day here in Cork. I've got some errands to run, and I've got my husband's quilt to baste and Malcolm's quilt to work on. So I will go get to doing that, and I hope you all have a great week, and I will do my best to record next week, as long as there's no illnesses, and so I'll see you then. Okay, bye.